Good morning, everyone. My name is Max Hartgraves, and I am the acting commission secretary today, and I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge.
Present.
Commissioner French-Contreras.
Here.
Commissioner Olson.
Present.
And Commissioner York.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 10 o'clock, and the floor is yours, Chair Coolidge.
Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and call to order the 702nd Arizona Racing Commission meeting of August 11th, 2022. Before we jump into the appeal of the director's order, do any of my commissioners have any objections with me jumping into the action items, and then we'll follow up with that since we'll probably need an executive session?
I'm fine with that. No objection.
Thank you.
No objection.
So we'll move to action item C1, Turf Paradise request to amend live and dark race dates for the 2022-2023 race meet. Mr. Duncan, doesn't look like we have any updates on this, but I'll open it up to you if you have any updates.
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner, no updates on that.
Any questions from my fellow commissioners? Everything looks to be in order on this.
This is Candace. I do have one question. It's just minor because I looked up the definition, but can you explain to me dark race dates?
Mr. Mayor, I see your hand up. I'll let you take it. You're on. Yeah, you go.
Thank you, Chairman Coolidge. Commissioner Candace, a dark day is when the track is simulcasting races from around the country, but we are not racing live. A live race day is when we, of course, are racing, conducting live racing in addition to simulcasting.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're certainly welcome, Commissioner.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll move that we approve Turf Paradise request to amend the live and race dates for the 2022-2023 race meet.
I'll second that motion.
You did have people signed up for this to speak.
Sorry, who was that?
This is Rory Garay. I did sign up this morning to speak to this item.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Director, my name is Rory Garay. I previously served on this commission for 10 years, and one thing I can say is nothing has changed. Year after year, we as a whole talk about welfare and safety, but nothing changes in my opinion. Many of us refer to this time of year as Groundhog Day. Why? Just last August, Chairman Coolidge and the Vice Chair at that time, myself, instructed the horsemen and turf that the commission was not going to be the place to be trying to negotiate the contract with regards to race dates. Yet here is turf again, ignoring the guidance of the commission, and in my opinion, giving the appearance of trying to get an upper hand in negotiations by requesting and hoping for approval of the dates on your agenda. I would like to point to you Title 5, specifically 5-104 with regard to race dates. You as a commission need to take into consideration the multitude of safety issues and concerns from previous years. 5-104 directs you to not only approve race dates, but also protect and promote the safety and welfare of the animals participating. I could spend the next 30 minutes discussing the many substantial safety issues from last meet and previous meets at Turf Paradise, but I will save you that. All that information is available in the media and on the department's own public records. During the last meet at Turf Paradise, I had the privilege to meet with the horsemen. This meeting was attended by groomers, breeders, veterinarians, and trainers, the heart and soul of our industry. I can tell you, our heart and soul have very little trust. They do not trust the many past and present commissioners to do the right thing, nor ask the right questions. They do not trust the department to properly regulate, nor treat each permittee equally. They do not trust that the guidance on how the division manages our permittees is not coming from the ninth floor instead of the commission. I can tell you, the members of this commission, the last 10 years, the lack of trust is just that. It's been a combination of failure over many years that brings us to this day where if this ship is not righted, racing is all but over in 2 years. You as a commission have the job to do the right thing and protect all involved. The AZ, HBPA, and Turf Paradise, I believe, because we have not heard of a contract, are currently in negotiations. And as such, you should as was instructed a year ago to them, tell them, get your contract, then come to us with the race dates that are agreed by all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion on the floor.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner French Contreras. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Commissioner York.
No.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move to action item C2, request for Turf Paradise to be reheard for off-track betting. I believe this is the third time we've heard this request of the facility at Padre Murphy's. Just as a reminder to my commissioners, should you need to move to executive session, that is always an option for you as well. Looks like we have all of the usual suspects that are going to be jumping onto this. So I'm going to go from the top to the bottom by request. And of course,
And Chair, may I
Brian,
interrupt?
Commissioner, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to state for the record that I do have a conflict for today's discussion, and so I will not be participating and abstain from today's vote.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you. Brian, as always, I'm going to butcher your last name. So you and I are going to be on a first name basis today. I'm going to let you, let's go ahead and allocate 3 minutes for your comments, if you don't mind, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, this is Brian Imbornoni. I represent TP Racing, doing business as Turf Paradise. TP Racing has requested approval to operate an OTB at Padre Murphy's. The commission tabled that request pending private resolution or litigation. We are requesting the commission to reconsider that decision. Thank you for placing this matter on the agenda today. Despite good faith efforts, TP has been unable to resolve this matter with Arizona Downs. On April 28, it filed a declaratory judgment action in the Maricopa County Superior Court. Arizona Downs has now filed its answer and served its initial disclosure statement. They are taking the position that the Superior Court can't resolve this dispute. They argue that TP has failed to exhaust administrative remedies before the commission. They argue that the court can't instruct the commission on how to decide Arizona Downs arguments unless the commission is joined as a defendant. And they raise a whole host of other procedural defenses to avoid reaching the merits of this action. These defenses point out the problem with trying to involve the courts in this dispute. Under the racing statutes, the commission is responsible for deciding OTB requests. Once the commission enters a final appealable decision, the statutes provide a very specific, limited process for getting the courts involved in reviewing that decision. There is no statutory authority getting the courts involved up front. There are practical reasons why this approach is not workable. Assuming the court agrees to hear the case, it is not likely to get to trial until the fall of 2023 or later. In the meantime, Arizona Downs will continue to operate illegally on the Padre Murphy's premises and receive revenue that it is not entitled to. With respect, we submit that two things should happen. First, the commission should reject Arizona Downs' objections, which have no legal merit, and grant TP's request to operate an OTB at Padre Murphy's. Second, the director should instruct Arizona Downs to stop operating illegally. The new bar owner, Fins West, should not be forced to resort to an eviction action. On the first issue, we believe the facts are straightforward. Arizona Downs has no contract with the new bar owner. The new owner bought the business as an asset purchase. The new owner did not assume any liability for Arizona Downs' contract. This is plainly stated in the contract documents which are before the commission. Arizona Downs claims that they have a sublease, but there are no documents to support that claim. In fact, we have obtained and produced the actual lease documents. Arizona Downs signed an OTB agreement with a company called Padre Murphy's Glendale. Padre Murphy's Glendale did not hold the lease and could not grant a sublease. Arizona Downs has never responded to this critical flaw in its argument, including in its most recent letter to the commissioners. Arizona Downs is occupying the premises as a squatter. Arizona Downs is operating illegally. It does not have a contract with the new owner as required by A.R.S. 5-111.
30 seconds, sir.
It does not have an OTB agreement with the new owner approved by the city. It does not have a plan of operation with the new owner approved by the director. To conclude, TP Racing has met all requirements to operate a wagering facility at Padre Murphy's. It has submitted a signed contract to the new owner, plan of operation, obtained approval from the city. The commission has legal responsibility for making a decision on TP's request. This includes responsibility for deciding the merits of Arizona Downs' objections. With respect, the commission should overrule the objections, grant the request, and put its decision in the form of a final appealable order. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next person signed up to speak is Mr. Gore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here we are again. Disregard for previous decisions of the commission. The commission over 3-4 months ago told all parties, here's what you're going to do. And until this is done, don't even come back to us. And with what happened in the last meeting, I think before anything further goes on, the AG should look thoroughly into this and determine, was that a legal action that happened at the end of the last meeting? And also, I do believe all communications between that commissioner and any representative of Turf Paradise, it's any of its lawyers, any of its lobbyists, needs to be collected, because a lot of the people in the public believe there was some funny business going on there. Thank you.
Mr. Nolan? And Mr. Langhofer, I see your hand raised. I'll get to you.
Good morning, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'd like to address this item on how it was obtained on the commission agenda and in the manner it was. I just 3 or 4 months ago asked the commission to readdress the way in which these commission meetings are held, to put commission reports after public comments. That has not occurred. And the way in which this was done by Commissioner French Contreras, after commission reports, after call to the public, after announcements, and prior to adjournment, I believe is a violation of the open meeting laws. I'd like the chair to ask for an interpretation by the AG. I, in the past, have had many issues before public comment, and in the over 35 years of coming to commission meetings, I have never seen this behavior in the past. This French Contreras as either trying to help Turf Paradise and or Padre Murphy's. The way this was done, I find totally inappropriate. And because I have been before here trying to get similar actions, not only to be reheard, but to be reopened, that were not finalized. I will address in public comment and expect the same courtesies that was afforded to Mr. Brian. I'm sorry about your last name. I don't want to screw it up. And have the same courtesies that were given to them as had given to me. I am now forwarding the communications I have with the commission secretary. And I would like to, in public comment, quote from you, Chair Coolidge, on your question to me that still remains open. And with that, I expect French Contreras to recuse herself in this matter because of the way it was brought forth. I expect an investigation, as Gorey said, into all communications from French Contreras to any party dealing with Turf Paradise and or Padre Murphy's to find out the nature of why she's so involved. And this has all come about because of a litigation in the state Supreme Court. Briefs are now due again. As of August 8th, more briefing is due. Those funds are being paid by the public. This is a debacle that's been going on. And the way in which this was handled, I find totally inappropriate. So please, Commissioner, direct an Attorney General to ask if open meeting laws have been violated. And I certainly hope French Contreras will do the right thing and recuse herself. Thank you very much.
Appreciate the input. I also note that you will be speaking at the call to the public, and we'll be calling on you then, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Langhofer?
Thank you, Chair Coolidge. As you've noted, this is the third time that we're speaking on the same issue. And I have never before seen someone ask for 3 separate rulings on the same issue. I don't believe it's good use of your time or mine or our client's money. The facts here are this. I'm holding in my hand printouts of text messages between our client and the new owner of Padre Murphy's in early April, urging arbitration to resolve the issue quickly. And that didn't happen. In late April, Turf Paradise sued. In the litigation that's ongoing, there's only one party that's requested an extension of deadlines, and that was Turf Paradise. It certainly was not Arizona Downs. If we're going to do the court thing, if that's the way they want to resolve this, then we're going to do the court thing. We're going to make our arguments. We're going to treat it like any other case. It's moving along pretty quickly. Motions to dismiss are due in December. That's very fast, right? April to December to go from filing to motion to dismiss is very fast. And the fact of the matter is, Arizona Downs signed a contract with the people who were operating Padre Murphy's. All those assets, including the sublease and the revenue stream for the bar, were transferred to the new owners. They knew exactly what it was beforehand. They had access to all the documents. I'm sure they did due diligence. They wouldn't buy the bar without knowing that the revenue stream from OTB was in place. They took all of that as it was. And now they're trying to raise arguments about how well the release really wasn't that good. It's not even the bar raising the arguments, right? It's a competitor who's trying to get a court to declare that the bar's lease is invalid. The bar's not in court. They're not trying to invalidate it, right? This is, we're going to resolve this in court, and I'm not worried about winning. We're going to win. I just can't believe we have to come in front of you the third time to explain the same thing. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Appreciate it, sir. Mr. Author, I see you're coming off mute. Do you want a last minute?
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you want to kick off whatever device is next to you, it'd be helpful.
I'm not sure what's going on here. Does that sound better?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, let me just follow up with what Mr. Langhofer said. I don't want to repeat it, but what you just heard from Mr. Imbernoni was his legal argument.
Mr. Author, I'm
Yes.
going to interrupt you and ask that the secretary adjust the clock to 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
All right. What you just heard from Mr. Imbernoni is the exact legal argument that he's making to the Superior Court judge in a lawsuit that he personally filed. And he might be right, he might be wrong, but this commission is not in a position to analyze all of those legal arguments that were just made. He claims that the sale was asset sale only, but I'm reading from the document that was the sale document. It says seller to assist buyer in Arizona Downs account transfer from seller to buyer. All proceeds from Arizona Downs contract to transfer from seller to buyer as of the closing date. So the parties specifically agreed that our sublease would be transferred to the new buyer. And Mr. Imbernoni can disagree with that legally, and he can make that argument to a judge, and who knows what's going to happen. But you folks, and I believe it might be the fourth time we've argued this, you folks shouldn't have to be in a position to decide these legal arguments that are currently before a Superior Court judge. What you decided before was to wait until the trial was over. Let's wait until the trial is over.
It's been a minute.
Thank you.
Chair Coolidge.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gill, are you on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sir, I have 3 minutes penciled for you.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I have 3 minutes penciled for you.
Oh, I don't need 3 minutes. I was just gonna jump back on here and first off, thank the commissioners for their time. I am Dave Gill. I own Padre Murphy's. This was an asset purchase, however we want to look at it. When I purchased the business from Fins West, purchased the business from Padre Murphy's Glendale LLC, there was no novation agreement signed or in place for numerous contracts and accounts that they had in place. In fact, we switched 99% of the things over to the way that we do business with some of our other businesses. So it was an asset purchase, but also I was doing what's right for my business, what I feel is right and what I felt was right for my business, to switch over to Turf Paradise based off of previous interactions with OTB owners, or OT restaurant and bars that have OTB in their place, on both sides with Arizona Downs and Turf Paradise, and looking at stability of companies and things like that. So I made a decision to do what I thought was best and what I think is best for my company. How it's getting kind of misconstrued and pulled in all these different ways, I'm not sure. But again, I made the decision to go with Turf Paradise. That's what I want to do for my business. Other than that, there is no lease with Padre Murphy's Glendale LLC or a sublease with the landlord of the building. The lease was transferred from Padre Murphy's Glendale LLC into Fins West LLC. So there's no sublease on the building from anybody. Fins West occupies everything. Other than that, again, thank you for your time. I know this has been on the agenda a few times here, and I hope it's not wasting anybody's time, but I just want to say thank you again. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gill. Appreciate you making some time to have your voice heard on it. Before I ask to go into executive session, do I have any questions from my fellow commissioners?
No.
One quick question. How long is the OTB contract that Arizona Downs originally signed? When does it expire?
This is Dave Gill here. Are you asking me that? Because I don't know. I don't have those documents. I was never presented those documents.
Sorry, Mr. Gill. Not you, but anyone associated with Arizona Downs.
June of 2024.
Thank you.
Mr. Nolan, I see your hand raised.
One last thing that I'd like the commission to please address and try to protect the wagering public here is the fact that the equipment used by Arizona Downs is much more up to date. The equipment used by Turf Paradise boots up Windows 98. It's not been updated. It's not convenient. And the fact that Turf Paradise has a very large problem staffing the OTBs as they already exist. An example of Big Daddies are not open according to their contract. They have major problems. Please considering the wagering public when making this decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Well, here we go.
Mr. Author, go ahead and take 30 seconds if you need something there.
Yeah, I think as a follow-up to,
You have a device near you.
I think we're turning it on. To follow up to Commissioner York's question, lawsuit that's been filed is seeking to recover all, if they're successful, seeking to recover any money that we have earned from running the OTB at Padre Murphy. So it doesn't really matter how long our contract goes. If they are successful, they're claiming that they can go back and recoup all of that money. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but that's at least an issue that's going to come up in the lawsuit. And if Mr. Imbononi's client is successful and to get a constructive trust, he thinks he can go back to January of this year and recoup his money. So, we're litigating that also. Thank you.
Commissioner York, did you have a question that I see you waving at?
No. I was just acknowledging Mr. Author's comment.
Appreciate it. I'll move that we enter executive session.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York, I believe. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Abstain.
Thank you. The time is 10:25 and we will enter into executive session.
Executive session, don't allow them to deliberate. They can ask for legal advice. I'm sure.
I didn't know that.
Chair Coolidge, it looks like we have a quorum. Would you like me to call roll?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Perfect. I will call the roll then. Chair Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Present.
Commissioner York,
Present.
and Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 10:42 and we will resume open session.
Mr. Author, I see your hand raised again. How about 30 seconds for an update?
Thank you, Chairman. As we were sitting here, we've been concerned that perhaps Ms. Olson will not be able to stay as a commissioner if she has to recuse herself whenever Turf Paradise is involved. Good, and I really don't want to get into any personal issues, but
Sir,
can she explain what the conflict is so that we can figure out what we need to do for this meeting and meetings in the future?
all I know is that the commissioner does have a conflict and has recused herself from this vote.
Okay, we're worried that we're going to lose a commissioner now.
If you have concerns, I would direct those to the department as we are going through the action items.
Okay, thank you.
I will take a minute and say I was unfortunately not at the last meeting, so I don't have the full context, though I did read the transcript of what did happen. If any of the commissioners have any comments or concerns before moving forward, I'll open the floor up now for those.
I don't have any, Chair Coolidge.
And I'll also open up the floor should we have any motions for, again, just as a recap, action item C2, the request for Turf Paradise to be reheard for off-track betting facility Padre Murphy's. Okay. Move to action item C3, simulcast agreements pursuant to A.R.S. 5-112U for Arizona Downs. That is Churchill Downs, Remington Park, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs. Mr. Duncan, any updates from you on that while the commissioners review? Just in case you're on mute, Mr. Duncan, or maybe we lost you. Director Casillas, would you mind jumping in on this one? Lively group. Actually, we'll roll through. I'm sorry, Director. Did you have something to input?
Maybe we take a 5-minute recess. I think there's been some technology difficulties at the office.
Understood. I'll move that we take a 5-minute recess, please.
Thank you. 5 seconds is too quick.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner French Contreras for a 5-minute recess. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge.
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras.
Yes.
Commissioner York.
Yes.
And Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 10:45 and we will resume open session at 10:50.
Testing. Testing.
It's working.
Yes.
That works, Rudy.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Secretary, let's go ahead and call roll.
Sounds good. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Here.
Commissioner York,
Present.
and Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 10:50 and we will resume open session.
Just as a quick recap, we are down to action item C3, which is the simulcast agreements pursuant to A.R.S. 5-112U. Action item A, which is Arizona Downs. Mr. Duncan, you want to give any updates you have on Will Rogers or any of the others?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. There's no real updates. I did supply and review the contracts and all is in order. The division would recommend 5112U contracts be approved for items C3A 1 through 4.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from my commissioners? Looks like we have everything in order here. That said, I'll go ahead and move that we approve Arizona Downs, Churchill Downs, Remington Park, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs simulcast agreements.
I second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Those simulcast agreements are approved.
Moving down to C3B, Turf Paradise, Hawthorne Racecourse, Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs. Mr. Duncan?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Again, the contracts have been turned in, reviewed. All is in order. The division would recommend 5112U contracts be approved for items C3B 1 through 5.
It does look like we have all of the items in order. Just would like to say thank you to Arizona Downs and Turf Paradise for having all of the items in order on these. Any questions or concerns from my commissioners before making a motion?
No.
That said, I'll go that we move to approve Turf Paradise, Hawthorne Racecourse, Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs simulcast agreements.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner French Contreras. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yeah, yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. Those simulcast agreements have been approved.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to C4, simulcast horse race import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3 for Arizona Downs. I know that we will be making some adjustments here, but Mr. Duncan, I'll hand it off to you first.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Under C4A for Arizona Downs, item 1 is now complete with the 5112 U contract being approved. Items 2 through 4 are still missing the host commission, host horseman, approval documents, since your approval of the 5112 U contracts. The division would make sure to collect all those documents for these items before we give them permission to operate their signal. The division would recommend that item 1 be approved and items 2 through 4 be conditionally approved, pending the rest of the documents being turned in.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you for that. Any questions? Just checking one more thing. I'll go ahead and move that we approve 4A for Churchill Downs.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. The simulcast import signal for Churchill Downs has been approved.
Thank you, sir. I will move that we conditionally approve Arizona Downs, Remington Park, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs pursuant that the department receive all prerequisite documents and would leave it to the department to expedite those approvals once they received all the prerequisite documents.
I second that motion.
Go ahead, Commissioner York.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. The items C4234 have been conditionally approved.
Thank you, sir. We'll move down to 4B, Turf Paradise, Hawthorne Racecourse, Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, Will Rogers, and Kentucky Downs. Mr. Duncan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Under C4B for turf, items 1 through 3 are now complete with your approval of the 5112U contracts. Also, just a note on the IHA analysis sheet and the anticipated dates for item 4 for Will Rogers, that is incorrect. There was a misposting of their race schedule on their website. I did actually include the correct one in the packet and then resent it this morning. So the dates are correct on the contracts. Just needed to make note that I have it going through November 15th instead of November 12th. With that being said, items 4 and 5 are still missing the host commission, host horseman, approval documents. The division would make sure to, again, collect all the documentation before we give them permission to run their signal. For items 1 through 3, division would recommend approval. Items 4 and 5, we would recommend conditional approval until receiving all documentation.
Thank you, sir. Questions from my commissioners? I think we're good to move on. Motion for Turf Paradise, Hawthorne Racecourse, Belmont Park, and Churchill Downs.
Second.
Second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Olson. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner York.
Yes.
Thank you. Items C4D 1 through 3 have been approved.
Thank you, sir. We'll move down to Turf Paradise's Will Rogers as listed and Kentucky Downs, a conditional motion for approval once all the prerequisite documents are submitted, and leave it to the department for a final approval so it doesn't have to come back to the commission.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner Olson. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
and Commissioner French Contreras.
Yes.
Thank you. Items C4B 4 and 5 have been conditionally approved.
Thank you, sir. We're going to jump back up to B1. I move that we enter executive session.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner French Contreras. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yeah.
Thank you. The time is 10:58 and we will enter into executive session.
Ivy, I had to step away. Can you tell me what they went into executive session for? You're muted. Sorry.
Deanie, I think that's the matter that you're representing the commission on.
Mr. Chair, I believe we have a quorum. Would you like me to call the roll?
Please, sir.
Great. I will call the roll then. Mr. Chairman Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Here.
Commissioner York,
Present.
and Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 11:23 and we will resume open session.
Thank you, sir. So this is the time set for consideration of the appeal filed by Glenn W. Corbett, Bart G. Hone, and Jeremy Ramsland in the case number 22A012DOR. The purpose of the appeal is to request consideration by the Racing Commission of the decision of the director, Rudy Casillas, who is acting as the administrative law judge in the matter of Jeffrey Metz, case number 228A008DOR. Are the parties present? It looks like two of them are. And as a preliminary matter, I will ask that all commission members indicate that they have received and reviewed the administrative record of the formal hearing in the matter. Just making sure if anyone on the
I was just
Commissioner
Commissioner Olson, and I have received and reviewed.
just to confirm, that was a you have, yes?
Correct. Yes.
Have any of my commissioners not received and reviewed?
No, I've received everything.
Thank you.
Same here.
The commission will now hear the oral argument from the interested parties on the appeal. Please understand that this is not, I'm sorry, is someone speaking? Please understand this is not a full hearing, and the commission will decide the matter on the record of the decision being appealed and on any argument presented by the interested parties. Additional evidence will not be accepted, and each party will be limited to 5 minutes. The appellants shall be allowed to speak first, and the commission will then hear from the parties defending the decision of the director. Looks like we have Mr. Kushner, or excuse me, Ivy Kushner to speak first.
Excuse me, but Ivy does not represent the appellants.
Correct.
Oh, it looks like my
Corbett, Mr.
names
Hollander,
are flipped.
Mr. Ramsland. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. It looks like my names are flipped. So Bart Hone, I'll move up to the front, and then Ms. Kushner will move to the back. Unless there is someone else that is signed up to speak on this matter.
Yes, this is Bart Hone.
Mr. Hone, 5 minutes for you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman Coolidge and members of the commission. I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. I'm sure you have reviewed all the race on February 18th. My horse, Creme de la Chrome, was outside and outside of Mr. Corbett's horse, Bengal for Bucks number 8. I was about 3/4 of a length behind that horse when the number 4 horse, Mongolian Memory, made a right-hand turn, wiped Bengal for Bucks out and pushing him out into my horse. At the time of the accident, my horse was beat about 2.5 lengths for the chart, the official chart that is published by the Equibase. And after the incident, I was beat between 7 and 7.5 lengths. When we got to the wire, I was beat, I think 2 or 3 inches for the 4th place finish. So I believe that occurrence made the difference in my placing. And with that placing, per rule R19-2-19 number 7, it says that if an incident occurs and makes it where you are not placed in the right position, that there should be a disqualification. And also, on the first hearing, we was not notified of any hearing that went forth. No chance to represent ourselves or anything like that. And so therefore, that's why we filed the appeal. Any questions?
Not from me, sir. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Ivy Kushner, and I am the attorney for Jeffrey Metz, the trainer of the first place finisher in the race at issue. I come before you asking that you affirm Director Casillas's May 6, 2022 order. And as you correctly pointed out, Mr. Chairman, today is not a date or time for consideration of new additional evidence. The appellant's challenge to Director Casillas's May 6, 2022 order is legally flawed. A disqualification is not a private action between licensees, but rather a regulatory enforcement proceeding by the state regulator. Mr. Hone did not, in any document that has been submitted or during his presentation today, cite to or refer to a regulation that directs and requires the department in an appeal of a disqualification to provide notice to all owners, trainers, and jockeys in the race. On the contrary, R19-2-123, titled Procedure Before the Department in Section B, deals specifically with appeals of stewards' inquiries and objections. Subsection 3 contains an express provision regarding the department's notice obligation, and it reads, after an appeal is filed under subsection B2, the director shall fix a time and place for hearing or refer the matter to a hearing officer. The director shall give written notice of the hearing to the appellant at least 30 days before the date set for the hearing, unless the 30 days notice is waived in writing by the appellant. Secondly, as it is a regulatory enforcement, it is the state through its legal representative, the Attorney General's office, who in its sole discretion determines the evidence and witnesses to present at a hearing on appeal. The state called the chief steward as a witness in support of the steward's decision to disqualify the first place finisher trained by my client. As you know, there are two elements that have to be established to support a disqualification: that a foul occurred and that the foul affected the outcome of the race. Now, we all recognize that the stewards do their best within the brief period of time that they have after the race to make a decision. Director Casillas was not under similar time constraints, and Director Casillas considered not only the evidence at the hearing, but his order on page 3, beginning on line 24, notes that he took advantage of his authority to review the video of the race multiple times afterwards. Also, on page 3 of Director Casillas' decision, on line 7, he states, after reviewing the racing action at the second turn several times, it was not clear that a bump of great severity.
Chairman Coolidge, pardon to interrupt, but the 5-minute timer had just ran out. Just wanted to notify the chairman.
Ms. Kushner, I'll add 30 more seconds just so you can finish your thought.
Okay, thank you. You have the decision, and I would just simply conclude by saying that grounds for a commission's authority to review the director's decision is set forth in R19-2-124F, and none of the grounds set forth therein are at issue.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Duncan, you have something to add?
Yeah, I just want to recognize there is a typo in the on the agenda. It says case number 228A. It actually should read case number 22A.
Thank you for clarifying that. After reviewing the director's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and orders in the case, the administrative record, and the arguments from the parties, the commission, I'll now open it up to the commission to discuss its decision moving forward. So any of my fellow commissioners have anything they want to bring up?
Before you start that, can you make sure that there are no other appellants present that want to speak? This is Jeannie.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, my name's Jeffrey Metz. I would like to speak if possible.
I don't think that's appropriate, commissioners, because
no, ma'am.
Represented by Ms. Kushner, but I was thinking more along the lines of Mr. Ramsland or Mr. Corbett, or maybe the state, if the state has something they want to say.
Mr. Ramsland.
Ma'am, my name is Jeff Williams, Chief Steward at the time of this when this race was run. And I was asked by Mr. Hall today and speak on behalf of our decision. The commission would give me the opportunity. I'd like to just say a few words.
That's not argument, that's more testimony. You can choose to accept it if you want.
Mr. Ramsland, I'm going to give you, let's give you 3 minutes to give us an update. Should you have anything to add, sir?
Perfect. Thank you. My name is Jeremy Ramsland. I'm the owner of Creme de la Chrome, the horse that was interfered with second. As we all watched on the replays, Mongolian Memory on the far turn, what looked like to me completely blew the turn, barreling into the horse Bango for Bucks, which in turn went into my horse, Creme de la Chrome, quite clearly taking us at least 10 lengths wide. I think it's very clear on the replay. I think it was extremely dangerous, not only to those 3 horses, but the 3 jockeys as well. The second point I want to make is that not only on that day, the steward made that decision to disqualify Mongolian Memory, but the race analysis further corroborates that story. And that was clearly done by a third party. And I want to read that here. Creme de la Chrome was steadied entering the second turn, checked entering the stretch, and dropped back. Mongolian Memory was disqualified and placed 7th for causing interference on the second turn. Bango for Bucks was carried out on the first turn, was impeded, and checked on the second turn and dropped back. So not only did the steward see what everybody else saw that day, but all three horses race analysis says the same thing. And the last point I want to make is that I was never notified that this decision was being appealed. And furthermore, I was never notified that the decision was actually reversed. I'm not sure if it was done behind closed doors. I was made aware by track talk. Other people knew about it. And so I feel like that was very unfair and unjust. And I think Mongolian Memory absolutely needs to be disqualified. I think that the maneuver that was done by that horse that day was extremely dangerous and should not be allowed in horse racing.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mr. Williams, I appreciate you attending, but at this point, we will not be listening to new evidence. So I am going to pass on your testimony. I believe we have the AAG on the line. Yancey, do you have an update for us, sir?
Yes, Commissioner, just briefly, we are asking that you affirm the director's decision. The hearing was conducted appropriately. That was the April 5th, 2022 hearing. Director Casillas heard testimony from three witnesses. Those were Sahin Savache, the jockey for Mongolian Memory, also Jeffrey Metz, the owner of Mongolian Memory, and from the chief steward, Jeff Williams, and a video of the race was also viewed. The order is complete and contained all the requisites of the statutes and rules, and the decision was well reasoned and it was within the director's authority. So we do ask that you affirm the director's decision. Thank you.
Appreciate it, sir. Mr. Ramsland, do you have, I know you had some left on your clock. How about 30 more seconds for an update?
Yeah, I would like to respectfully disagree. I was never notified of this. It sounds like one party was heard. I don't think that's hardly fair at all. And I think it's quite clear that this horse dangerously impeded the rightful running lane of not just one other horse, but two. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other appellates that we may have overlooked? Or appellees? Okay, I'll go ahead and open it up to the commission to discuss this decision. And I know we have a couple of commissioners with any questions, so let's open it up from there and we'll go from there. Do we have any commissioners with any questions or comments?
Sure, I'll go, Commissioner Coolidge. This question is for the AAG. I know, I don't know if the AAG that was involved in this is present, but I just had a couple of questions as to why the videos that were reviewed by the stewards were not involved in this hearing and why the other jockeys were not involved.
Commissioner, as far as the video, in speaking with Director Casillas, he said that that video was never presented to him. He wasn't aware of why or what the video was that they were referring to. And regarding the other parties, the statutes and the rules state that any aggrieved party can appeal. There's no definition of aggrieved party in the statute or rules. There are some definitions from other sources. Black's Law Dictionary says an aggrieved party is a party entitled to a remedy, especially a party whose personal, pecuniary, and property rights have been adversely affected by another person's actions or by a court's decree or judgment. And then there's a Merriam-Webster definition of an aggrieved person as a person sufficiently harmed by a legal judgment, decree, or order to have standing to prosecute an appellate remedy. In speaking with Director Casillas, he said that that is sometimes hard to determine. He acknowledged to me that Glenn Corbett, Bart Hone, and Jeremy Ramsland could have been considered aggrieved parties under that definition. We should have received notice. But we submit that there is still enough evidence at the director's hearing level, and also you've heard from those parties today, and it really doesn't change what happened. They've just given their opinions. So we feel that's not enough to overturn the director's decision. We again ask that you affirm the director's decision.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
This is Jeremy Ramsland. I do have both video evidence and pictures that I would be more than willing to share on the screen here if that is allowed. And again, I was never notified. I would think that that would disqualify the appeal completely. Sounds like it was made with only the facts provided by one party. And that's all I'd like to add.
Sir, we can't take any. I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
This is Jeannie. You could consider that what would be an offer of proof should the case be reheard. Even though you're not going to consider it, he's told you that he has evidence. He hasn't described it. He could describe it in his offer of proof as to why that might be crucial to the decision. But although he sort of spoke out of turn, I think that you could consider that an offer of proof.
Jeremy, a question for you is your video and photos, I'm assuming you've seen what we've seen. Is yours different than what we've seen? I don't want you to show it to us. I just want a yes or no.
It's been pulled from RTN. I assume it's the same video, and the pictures are taken directly off the video.
Thank you, sir. Any other commissioners have any questions or discussion for this hearing? Or any
Commissioner
motion?
Coolidge, I'd like to make a motion to enter into executive session, please.
Commissioner, if you don't mind, Mr. Hone has his hand raised on this. Let's
Sure,
give
by all
him 30
means.
seconds and then we'll move forward on your motion.
Yes, I'd like to get back to the service. I'm not sure. It says that the R19-2-123 under service, it says the department shall make service of a decision, order, or other processes. Other processes, I would think, would be other hearings or something like that. And we still to this day have not received anything from the commission as far as, or the department, as far as what really happened.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Olson, why don't you go ahead and run your motion?
I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Olson and a second by Chair Coolidge to enter into executive session. I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson?
Yes.
Chair Coolidge?
Yes.
Commissioner York?
Yes.
And Commissioner Venture Contreras?
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 11:47. We will enter into executive session. I believe we are waiting on Chairman Coolidge, and then we will call the roll.
Mr. Secretary, go ahead.
Thank you. It looks like we have a quorum, so I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Present.
Commissioner York,
Present.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Present.
and Commissioner Olson.
Present.
Thank you. The time is 11:53, and we will resume open session.
Thank you. Ms. Kushner, I see your hand raised. You did use all of your time, though I did let Mr. Hone have 30 seconds. I will allow you to have 30 seconds more, and then we'll move on. You're on mute, ma'am.
I would just like to state for the record, in terms of the evaluation of the course of action, you might wonder, why is the number 5 horse making a challenge when there won't be a substantial differential in purse? And the reason that the commission should know why we're here today is that Mr. Ramsland is the son-in-law of the second place finisher, Mr. Dyer, who you see now, at least I do, as a participant. So we're really not here about anything relating to an impact to the 5 horse. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll go ahead and open it up for communication from any of my other commissioners. Otherwise, I'll give my 2 cents on it. I guess that means I'll give my 2 cents on it. The issue that I have with this is it sounds like we have had a couple of findings without a lot of the people in the room, and it sounds like there might be rationale for including those people at a later date. My thoughts here are likely having this sent back to the office and have it redone, but I'm interested in hearing any comments from my commissioners on it.
Chair Coolidge, this is Commissioner Olson. I tend to agree with you. I think that it appears, the 2 horses at issue were directly impacted and their testimony wasn't taken into consideration. So for those reasons, I tend to agree with your thoughts.
Chair Coolidge, I agree with your thoughts as well. Not only the parties, but all the videos that were viewed to make the original decision.
And I second that. I have concerns that all the parties affected didn't receive notice of the hearing. And I just feel like not all the information for a full and informed decision was presented.
Do we have any motions, or otherwise I can make one that I'm assuming our council will not conclude with? I would assume that we would make a motion for other proceedings. Is that correct?
I think it's on the script. I think that option is like number 4 on the script that I provided.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I'm looking at.
I mean, I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but you have that option.
Just want to make sure we have belts and suspenders on it.
I don't
Yeah, I'm
know.
always,
So Chair, with your motion for another proceeding, what proceeding do you imagine?
I think I'd like to send it back to the department to have a full review.
Are you saying a rehearing?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
a rehearing?
Mhm.
And to the department and not to the Office of Administrative Hearings?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So why don't I go ahead and make a motion that we have the Department of Racing rehear the matter. I would give the case number, but I think it's incorrect on here. So why don't we just say, I'll move that we redirect the proceedings back to the department for a rehearing.
Second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Chair Coolidge and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Chair Coolidge,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner Olson.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
This concludes this matter before the commission. The commission's decision will be reduced to writing and sent out to the parties shortly. The parties' further appeal rights will be set forth in our written order. Thank you all for attending today. And now we're going to go back up, or excuse me, we'll go back down through the agenda. I apologize for popping around. I just wanted to.
This is
Ma'am.
Deanie Ritt. I'm going to leave the meeting.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Goodbye, all.
We'll move to item D1, the track safety reports. Dr. Gale.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Gale is not present today. She did send me some notes that I'll read to you. The 12-month fatality rate is 2.72 per 1,000 starts, still higher than the national average of 1.39. The monsoon rains at Arizona Downs canceled one day of racing. Since the half day of racing was canceled on July 2nd, there has been one quarter horse catastrophic injury on the track. She also has received some of the earlier necropsies back, and we'll be scheduling a safety meeting within the next week or two when all parties can attend the dates and times she is looking at. And that's all.
Thank you, sir. We'll move to the budget reports. I do have Mr. Nolan signed up for the budget report, of which it sounds like that's more of a call to the public, which I will be moving you back to the call to the public. I'll give you an additional minute on that. Mr. Duncan, or actually, excuse me, Mr. LaForce.
Chairman, Commissioners, between this meeting and last, we closed out the fiscal year 22. We were well within our spending authority, and we managed our spend within the cash constraints we have based off the current revenue available. I want to focus more on fiscal year 23 and let you guys know what resources we have going forward. So this legislative cycle, the legislative body appropriated the division additional monies, bringing our operating budget to about $2.5 million. This includes a new single line item of $175,000 of general fund to be used for a temporary vet to assist with the safety inspections at the tracks. We also have 4 single line item pass-through amounts. A new one was implemented to pay for the federal HISA assessment. And there were no changes in the other 3, which are the Breeders' Award, the Racing Purse Enhancement, and the Racetrack Purse Enhancement Maintenance and Operations Funding. And that's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you, sir. We'll move down to the Mr. Guessman. Do you have a update for us on the IHIA?
Yes, Chairman Coolidge. Since this is Leroy Guessman, Chairman and Commissioners, we have now 3 lawsuits. I think I've mentioned that the last report. Some activity that has occurred since the last meeting in the first lawsuit, which is the national HBPA lawsuit, we have a hearing set up for a temporary restraining order on August 30th. And then on the, we call it lawsuit number 3 when we're talking amongst ourselves, but that is the lawsuit with Louisiana and West Virginia, and the Jockey Guild filed a separate lawsuit. In their lawsuit, the judge ruled in favor of a temporary restraining order, and then HISA immediately appealed it, and the judge has come back and did a partial stay, which suspends part of the HISA rules and leaves other parts of the HISA rules still in effect. What has occurred with the Case 3 lawsuit is they have opened it up to anyone else that would like to join, of which the majority of the HBPA affiliates, including Arizona, has joined the lawsuit. They've opened it up also to racetracks to join the lawsuit. And as I understand it, as of this morning, Turf Paradise did join the lawsuit as well. So if on August 30th, they also have a hearing in front of their judge regarding this appeal from HISA. If that is overturned, HISA could be suspended until the result of the lawsuit, which then not only would include Louisiana and West Virginia and the jockeys, but it would include anybody else that intervened. So that's kind of where we're at with HISA. It's currently, as you know, in effect. A lot of confusion amongst the horsemen. We're still playing kind of Russian roulette on the claiming game. We've, I think, had 3 claims voided already. I know that I was on a meeting with the chairman of HISA last week, and I asked her what she was doing about the claims in Arizona, and she said, I just want you to know we're working on it. So that's all she would share with me. So I don't know what's going to happen on these claims that have been voided by the state stewards. The other thing is the paperwork and information they're requesting after a horse is claimed from the original owner to provide to the new owner is quite complicated and very detailed information. So I'm not sure how that's going to work out either. So anyway, that's all I have on HISA. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Appreciate it, sir. Actually, Mr. Gassman, while you're still unmuted, why don't you go ahead and give us the HBPA industry stakeholder update?
Mr. Hutton is going to give that. So
understood. We'll jump up to the Permittee Reports, American Greyhound Racing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good afternoon. Aaron Feinberg for American Greyhound Racing. The only update I have this month is I am happy to report that we are going to go ahead and apply for another 3-year racing permit, simulcasting permit for years 2023, 2024, and 2025. We're in the final stages of compiling all of our documents, and I expect to meet with Mr. Duncan hopefully next week and submit that officially. Our current permit does expire at the end of this year, but I am happy to report that we will be able to meet the deadline and get that in for your consideration at a future meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
That sounds great. I appreciate it, sir. Mr. Weiss, I see your hand raised. Are you trying to jump in on Rito or Arizona Downs or do both?
Arizona Downs, I was going to start with, if that's coming up right now.
Yes, sir. Fire away.
All right. Well, this is Mike Weiss on behalf of Arizona Downs. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Everything here at Arizona Downs, I'd like to say everything is good. I can't say uneventful considering that we are plugging along and fighting monsoon season, as was just mentioned, and right in the thick of the start of the HISA. So I'm glad Mr. Guessman was able to step up to that. We've been working very closely with Mr. Stiles, and no offense to him, he's been great. And considering what's been put on all this, our numbers have picked up steadily. I'm proud to say we are now on TVG more and more, and we had 6 races on there on Monday. Due to the horse shortage and thinking of the safety of horses and the riders, we decided not to add that 3rd day in August. So with the cooperation of the HPBA and the Racing Commission, thank you, Mr. Guessman and Mr. Duncan, we extended the meet an extra 2 weeks. We are focused on Saturdays and Mondays, and we are now going to close September 19th as opposed to Labor Day. I do want to make mention also, thank our entire backside and staff for the support of 2 major issues that have happened. One of our trainers had their living quarters, their trailer, catch on fire. And it was a fire large enough to destroy the trailer. According to the fire department, we were saved due to the aggressiveness of our own EMTs. The fire was contained and stopped from spreading and creating a major disaster, which it could have been. So the entire community did stand up. Another trainer offered this trainer and his wife a place to live in another trailer, and the chaplaincy held a nice fundraiser dinner. Thank you, Mrs. Shoemaker. And one more quick issue I want to point is our horsemen are also coming together with us. They're banding together to save and rescue a horse, actually rescue a horse. Trainer Cynthia George spearheaded the rescue. The track and horsemen and the HPBA have all banded as one to donate and care for this animal. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do you want to give the Rito update?
Sure.
Please.
On behalf of Rito Park, Mike Weiss here again. Well, it is off season. And again, our new operations manager, Mark Van Buren, has stepped it up. For Rito, the nonprofit, it is clean and it is more organized than ever. Lots of efforts have been underway to clean it up, and a lot of the past obligations are getting taken care of. We're looking forward to a really strong 2022. I do want to mention the head of the University of Arizona Racetrack Industry Program, Robert Hartman, visited Arizona Downs and the students that are working here at the Arizona Downs Race Meet. He mentioned how he would like to incorporate more hands-on with the classroom and Rito, and thanked us for our efforts in helping graduates get jobs. He actually mentioned a few jobs that were thrown his way, in which he sent me the information to see if I had any students or ex-students to recommend. To help fill those positions. And Rito has also submitted for 2 new account wagering company applications to try and bring some more business into the state. And I see that they're going to be pushed to next month's agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We'll move to county fairs. Tucson Greyhound Park. Sheriff Paradise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to report at this time.
Thank you, sir. Move down to the Optional Industry Stakeholder Association updates. Arizona Counties Racing Association. Arizona Quarter Horse. Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders Association.
Yes. Can you hear me? Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wendy McCumber, and I'm with the Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders Association. I just wanted to remind everybody that our annual ATBA membership meeting and luncheon will be held Saturday, August 20th up at Arizona Downs at 12:30. And then we have a wonderful day of Arizona bred races that day between the quarter horses and the thoroughbreds. So trainers, don't forget to enter your breeds this Sunday, August 14th. And if everybody would like to come out and support our Arizona breds and have a great day of races. Thanks.
Great update. Thanks, Miss Wendy. We'll move down to HBPA.
Yeah, Chuck, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Bob Hutton, HPPA.
Want to bring up a few things. Long time no talk to, Chuck. Hope everything's well. We've been sitting down with Turf Paradise and trying to work out a contract. One of the issues that's coming up is they want to run 130 days. Our board does not think that's a wise decision as far as the horse population and what happened over the last year, and even what Mr. Duncan said today about the fatalities at the racetrack. We don't believe that running more days and over racing horses is a good idea, especially when the microscope's on the state as far as racing is concerned. I just want to make sure that's on the record that we're not in favor of it. And also, too, if there's no contract with the Arizona HPPA, the Turf Paradise would statutorily have to run either 155 or 156 days. So we're working on that continuously as far as what Turf Paradise is concerned. The one thing I really wanted to talk on today, and it got moved off the agenda, and I'm sure some of the commissioners may have questions about the ADWs, because in the ADW is advanced deposit wagering, and how that works. And I'm going to explain a few things on this, and I'm going to explain why it's really kind of a tough thing for the horsemen and how it's played out. But to give you an idea, I'm getting feedback. Can you hear me? Chuck, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, to give you an idea, if there's a $100 bet and there's a $20, let's say there's a $20 takeout, the ADWs would usually get about 13 or 14 of those dollars, and the horsemen and the track would split the $6 or the $7. The track's putting on the show as far as they got lights and they've got, brick and mortar and all the expenses of running with the business. And the ADWs are getting the lion's share. I tried to get, and it said that the ADWs were looking to get permitted to go ahead and run their ADWs. I just wanted to remind the commission that A.R.S. 5-112M, it says in there, and I'll read a brief sentence in there. If the advanced deposit wagering provider annually secures the approval of the commercial live horse racing permittees in a county where the advanced deposit wagering provider or commercial live racing permittee accepts advanced deposit wagers for horse racing and of the organization that represents the majority of the horsemen, that's us. So we have to give our permission for the ADWs to go ahead and exist in the state.
Apologies,
so I just
Mr.
want to make
Hutton.
sure.
Chair Coolidge, just want to let you know it's been just about 3 minutes.
Thank you. We'll give you 30 more seconds, sir.
Okay. So, and I'd like to answer any questions the commissioners may have on it. And Chuck, I might need a couple more seconds from that, but to give you an idea, so the ADWs that are trying to get permitted in the state, we tried to go down, and because a lot of these ADWs have customers that don't have addresses in the state of Arizona. And when they don't have to give you an idea, if you've got an address and you're playing on an ADW and your address is in Iowa, the horsemen in Arizona aren't getting their fair share of the revenue. So we went down to the legislation this last year. We wanted to run a bill that would geofence the state, that if you didn't have an Arizona address, that you couldn't use an ADW in the state. We got pushback from Relito's lobbyists and from Turf Paradise lobbyists. And I think that maybe Relito and Turf Paradise didn't understand that their lobbyists were giving us the pushback, because one of our jobs is to protect the revenue for the horsemen. And we want to go ahead and make sure that we can get a geofence. Now, if we have the ability to sign off on these ADWs, then we could carry some weight with them. The other thing, and I just want to save you guys some time, ExpressBet was on the agenda. We will not approve anything with ExpressBet because they are a Stronach company And if Stronach doesn't want to do business with us and send the signal in, then we're not going to do business with them. And I think it should save you guys some time not even to put it on the agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Move down to Jockeys Guild. And any matters to be placed on future agendas from any of my commission members?
No.
We'll move down to the call to the public. Just as a quick reminder, actions on the commission staff cannot directly go back and forth with the call to the public. I have Mr. Gorey and I have one other. So Mr. Gorey, we'll give you 3 minutes to speak, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman, commissioners, director. While I was on the commission, I had members of the public asking me about some issues, and I just want to give a little history here. When the Department of Racing was changed into Division of Racing and moved under the Department of Gaming, we were told at that time the Director of Gaming had no authority over the commission and would not be involved with commission activities. Now, back to what I said, I had public members asking me. I had several public members asking me, is Director Voigt attending your executive sessions? Now, you know I could not answer that, but I did ask them, what makes you think that might be happening? And they said, well, every time the commission goes into executive session, Director Voigt disappears and reappears as soon as the commissioners are coming back. I thought to myself, interesting. And I was going to talk about a different item today, but I observed something today. Every time the commission went into executive session, Director Voigt immediately disappeared. As soon as you came back, he was online. So I would respectfully request that the commission direct the AG to, probably will have to get a separate party, but to look into this and see if there is inappropriate involvement by the Director of Gaming in the commission activity, executive sessions, and decision. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Nolan, and I did note that Mr. Braddock, I have 3 minutes for you as well.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Sir, can you identify yourself?
Lloyd Yother with the Arizona Quarter Racing Breeders Association. I've had trouble online and on the phone getting through to you, but it seems I may have gotten contact now. I'd like to report on the Arizona Quarter Racing and Breeding Association at your will.
Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, my name is James Lloyd Yother. I'm the President of the Arizona Quarter Racing and Breeding Association, Vice President of the Arizona HBPA. I'm coming before you again today, as I have many times, numerous times before, in reference to the federal dollars awarded to the Arizona Quarter Racing Breeding, as well as the HBPA, in the fact that we are in dire needs and at the point of running out of money because we haven't received any money at the end of the year for our current year, which is we're a month and a half into now. I don't know that this is the right venue, but it's the only venue I can get any get my issue brought forth. But we pay, as you well know, or I hope everyone knows, that we have to pay for races that we present and write. We cannot do it at the end of a quarter or at the end of a report. I did speak to someone at the department, and they said that it's out of their hands at this point. It's in the hands of the governor or the ninth floor, or whatever it may be. But we're working on our money, and we were awarded money for the enhancement of racing in Arizona, and it's been a struggle and continues to be a struggle. And we can't continue to operate like this. We have people that have won money, and we can't pay them because we can't get the money released from the state. I'd like to know who I can go to. If it's a department, I'd like to set up a department with somebody with authority. If it's a state, I'd like to set up with Mr. LaFrost or Forrest or whatever his last name is. I'm sorry, I don't remember because I haven't been able to talk to him in several months. But anyway, I'm just pleading to you that we're in dire straits.
The thoroughbreds funding is also in dire straits, but the quarter horse money, we're out of money and we've got bills to pay. And I'm asking for some relief. Could you give me some help, please?
Is there a member of the department that might connect with Mr. Yother?
Mr. Chairman, this is Director of Racing. I can have Aidan Fleming reach out to Mr. Yother and communicate with him regarding the federal funds.
Mr. Chairman, I spoke with Aidan this morning. He told me there's nothing else that he can do other than he will check with the governor's office and find out what the holdup is. He says they were requesting reports that were in contract, in their last contract and their current contract, that have to be filed within 30 days of the end of the year, end of the meeting. Those were filed and they are at the governor's office. So what they're using for an excuse or what they're using for a reason is that we don't have the proper paperwork in, but we send it in numerous times. We had to do this all last year. We'd have to send the report in 2 and 3 times, which is totally inept, unacceptable on my part. I mean, this is money that was granted to us, and I'd like to have some action where I can get to the money that I can pay my bills and do what's right by the horsemen.
Chairman, Commissioners, I might have something to add on the matter.
Mr. LaForest, why don't we have you connect with Mr. Yother on the back end, and then Mr. Director, if you wouldn't mind setting up a call with the legislative aide to connect Mr. Yother to the appropriate person directly at the governor's office, I think might streamline this a bit.
Yes, sir.
I can give you my phone number. It's 480-206-1750. It's Lloyd Yother, Arizona Quarter Racing and Breeding Association. I would like to say, I don't know that they'll get back to me that soon. It's probably wishful thinking, but I do have a 1 o'clock doctor's appointment. I won't be able to talk to them till later on around 3 this afternoon.
We'll make sure they get back to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
We have 3 minutes.
Is that for me, Steve Nolan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I signed up under different items and they were prior to public comment, and there's a reason for that. A couple months ago, I asked that you readdress the format on these commission meetings to have commission reports after public comment, so that if something relevant, you can put them on a future agenda instead of how it was handled last meeting. But in light of last meeting, so I signed up under C2, D2, and D4F. Let me start with what you stated, the budget reports. I'm concerned that they give you a hunky-dory attitude from the department that in fact everything is good with the budget, when in fact in 2017 their budget was cut almost in half, from about 2.8 million to 1.5. That was in many articles and a matter of record. In so doing, it's also become noted in the past year that some of the essential employees, such as stewards and investigators, are not direct employees of the department division of racing. They're actually being paid or have been paid by an outside employment agency, and somehow that employment agency is being reimbursed. This shows concerns that there's not enough money in the budget. And if there's not enough money, they don't need to mislead you and tell you that the budget is hunky-dory. That's one issue with the budget. The second issue with the budget is there's a lack of transparency in all the monies that have been legislated. They are for the betterment of the agricultural businesses of horse racing and breeding, not for the permittees. They are legislated by our constituents for the betterment of the Arizona agricultural businesses of horse racing and breeding. There's a tremendous amount of monies. Who is in charge of it? Who is monitoring this fund? How is it calculated, and by whom? Please show transparency in the future on these budget concerns, because it's millions and millions of dollars. Secondly, the last and final, a couple of commission meetings ago, the commission ordered an update on some of the legal transactions that are currently before the commission and that are having a negative impact on the budget. Those would be a lawsuit in Superior Court. That's 6 years in making. It is a lower court case 2016-0000-505, Ronald Sims versus Jerry Sims, the Racing Commission, and the Department of Gaming. So it is relevant for you to be knowing that these litigations are pending. They are also being paid by and being reimbursed by the Department of Risk Management, our tax-paying dollars. These are all concerns of the budget. I'll move on. Those were 3 concerns.
15 seconds, sir.
That was on the budget report. Now on the other issue concerning how item C2 that you were allowing me 3 minutes, I appealed a decision in last year. You have been forwarded. All of you should have received an attachment email this morning from the commission secretary of those. I timely appealed this hearing, and at the commission meeting where I was supposed to ask Commissioner Coolidge, you asked me a question. Quote, Mr. Nolan, is there anything of pertinence that we need to be aware of to take under consideration and add it to a future agenda? Possibly add it to a future agenda. There was no more said because it was done in public comment. But seeing how what happened last meeting in public comment and afterwards going in executive session, tabling item C2, I wish to have this appeal heard. I have given you the appropriate information. It was followed timely. And if it is not going to be heard, can you please give me the factual and legal reasons that it won't be heard? One last item as it concerns Turf Paradise. I signed up on that item also. Can Turf Paradise please provide what a monarch is? Why is a monarch even here? What do they do? What do they provide to the state of Arizona, and what function do they have? As it is right now, Monarch's presence is having a very negative impact on the wagering public and on the racing participants. They have interfered with our business, and if in fact they are providing some service, I would like to cite our 19.2.106 licensing. Any person that participates in any capacity of a race meet, including a person that performs a service in connection with the conduct of a race meet, shall obtain a license from the department, except they don't qualify for either of the exceptions. Therefore, just because it's always been done that way is not an appropriate answer. It's been overlooked. These people need to be licensed. They need to be held accountable. They're interfering with the wagering public and the racing participants. And if you know your mission statement, that is your duty to protect.
Thank you, sir. You've reached your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Braddock. Mr. Braddock, if you're trying to speak, I think you might be on mute. Miss George, looks like you have your hand raised.
Yes, sir. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted to say something about the rescued horse that Mike Weiss brought up in his report for Arizona Downs. This horse was rescued. The rescue was initiated by trainer Mary Tate. And the reason why this horse was rescued is because it was publicly advertised on social media that this horse was going to be transported to Mexico to go to slaughter. This horse had not raced in 2 years and had been, we are assuming, sold properly, but still wound up at a local Arizona auction. I want to bring awareness to the commissioners that these local auctions do have kill buyers at them. It is very, very important for things to be considered, such as rules and regulations to protect our equine athletes. Because at this time, the rule that prevents trainers from selling horses at auction is very vague. And it's very unfortunate that this horse made its way to a kill buyer to the point where horsemen had to pull funds out of their own pocket to purchase this horse. And the horsemen actually came together and reached out to a racetrack who has shown an abundance of support, as well as HBPA has now. But the fact that this is even happening and that we don't have regulation for auctions and how horses end up there, it's just not acceptable. And we need to come into modern times and do something about this, something more than what is written currently. So if the commission could take the time to investigate some of these things, I've been posting this horse's story on our social media sites to bring awareness to the fact that some of these horses do cross the border. They do lose their lives in a very, very brutal manner that is extremely inhumane. That's all. I just think awareness is very, very important. And I appreciate everybody that's come together to help Mary Tate with her rescue efforts. Thank you for the time.
Yes, ma'am. Appreciate your input. Give one last call for Mr. Braddock. Okay. The next regularly scheduled commission meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday, September 8th, likely via Google Meet, and is subject to change based on a quorum. For current information about the Arizona Racing Commission schedule, please visit the Arizona Department of Racing Gaming website. With that, I'll hear a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner York and a second by Commissioner French Contreras. I will call the roll. Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Chairman Coolidge.
Yes.
Thank you. The time is 11:33 and this meeting has concluded. Thank you. Thank you, and please exit the meeting.